7, and I'm the Teen Services Librarian here at JCPL. And I'm here with Michelle Areaux. And Michelle is a best-selling author, and she's written a new series, a Crowhaven series, and her first book in the series is The Shadow Seeker. So she agreed to come and talk about her book and tell us a few things about it and about her. Thank you for coming, Michelle.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Can you tell us about your book?
So the Shadow Seeker series is about a girl who comes from a paranormal family, and they moved to Nichellesville, Kentucky, and it's just got a lot of action and suspense and teen angst, and it's just a really fun paranormal adventure.
Yeah, I read it. I really liked it.
So a lot of readers will be excited to know there's a third book coming out, hopefully in by the end of summer or early fall. It's in the works right now.
Great. I'm looking forward to that. This new series, this world you've created, can you tell us a little bit about that?
I wanted to focus on a world that meant something to me. A lot of my books, I create towns that aren't real based off of, other places. But, I live in Nichellesville. I was born and raised in Nichellesville. And so I really wanted to bring part of my stories to my hometown. And so in doing so, I was able to do a lot of research about Nichellesville. And there's just so many cool things that, myths and legends that a lot of people don't know about here, and a lot of really cool places that people aren't familiar with. And so that was really fun to be able to create a world around a place that I'm familiar with, but I also learned a lot too.
That's really interesting. So your character, Lizzie, is she based on a real life person, or?
I always think that I draw from people I know in my life when I build my characters, but her mom is Sadie Sanders, who is from my Wicked Cry series. And when I ended that series, it just didn't feel like I was done with it yet. And so I figured I would, take on this daughter of this character who Wicked Cries was my first book. And so that character of Sadie just meant so much to me. And so I wanted to take a piece of that when I made this series. So Lizzie really takes on a lot of her mother's characteristics. But like I said, I always kind of draw from people in my life as well. So I think anybody who knows me can probably find a little piece of themselves in my characters.
And this book is written for middle schoolers?
Middle school, high school age. All of my books are clean, young adult novels. It's something I always say that, a 12-year-old could read and a 90-year-old could read, and still be able to have a conversation about it.
I noticed that there's a lot of family members from your first book. So you're very family oriented, is that right?
Yeah, my family has been very instrumental in everything I've done. They've been my biggest supporters when I wanted to write, and to me, family dynamics is big. And sometimes family isn't always blood relatives. And so in a lot of my novels, you kind of find that out too, that family can sometimes be those people that you choose to have in your life. And I think that's important, especially for our young readers to know, because family isn't perfect. And a lot of people have blended families or have, adopted families or have, found families outside of their bloodline, And I just think that it's good to know that you can have that no matter what.
So as a teacher, is there anything that Lizzie tells us in the story that you think that our teens that are watching this could learn from her?
I think that teens can always pick up on just being yourself, being okay with yourself, and to never give up. Because she's a very strong-willed character, stubborn, but very strong-willed, and she never gives up no matter what obstacles are thrown her way.
That's great. Is there something about the writing process that you would like to share with us?
I don't really have a specific writing process. I know some authors do. I tend to kind of just, when I get an idea, I like to do like an outline, and then I just kind of, as the ideas come to me, I add them in as I go, and sometimes I change things around. But one thing I always want writers or aspiring writers to know is just write it down. Even if it's messy and it's ugly, just write it down. If you feel passionate about it, just get those ideas out. You can always clean it up and change it later. But just never be afraid to just start the writing process, whatever yours looks like.
So when you have your books published, do you have someone read them before you send them to the publisher?
Well, our publisher does have an in-house editor, but this is always funny, and people think it's funny, but my grandmother, she used to be an editor. So I always send things to her because she is the most honest person you'll ever meet. And she has no problem telling me if something works or doesn't work. And so she's kind of like my critic. So I send it to her and I'm like, all right, if it passes her test, then it's good to go.
Is there anything about your grandmother that's in the books?
Oh,
Is there-
for sure. Sadie's great aunt in my Wicked Cry series. She's very stubborn, very opinionated, strong-willed, but will do anything for anybody in the world. And that is largely based off my grandmother.
That's great.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you being here with me today.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. And hopefully readers will check out more of my books and they will find a little bit of themselves in my characters.
Yeah.